Hi folks, welcome back. I'm BARIN. So Pope Leo XIV visited Turkey last week, an American Pope in Ankara, if you will. I waited a few days to record this video about the papal visit because of one horrifying news item, even though it was also hilarious at the same time. Luckily, nothing came of my worries. Now, I'll get to that news item in a second, but here's a quick recap of the visit. The Pope was here in Turkey on a 4-day visit to commemorate the 1700th year anniversary of the Council of Nicaea. That was the event in 325 where church leaders got together and set basically the terms and conditions of the Christian faith. And an overwhelming majority of the world's Christian churches today follow the so-called Nicene Creed. The Pope also wanted the visit to foster better understanding between the world's Muslims and Christians. What was in it for the Turkish side? Well, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had similar aims as pontifex regarding the visit. Foster peace and understanding in a world where some appear to dislike both of those things. Meanwhile, burnish Turkey's diplomatic and geopolitical credentials, although many people also pointed out that perhaps the Pope's visit will foster religious tourism. After all, this country has hundreds and thousands of venues and churches from the earliest days of Christianity. Of course, that's not to say that the visit went without a hitch. Both President Erdogan and Pope Leo got some flack. Some of the Turkish leaders' former conservative supporters, as well as steadfast secular opponents, said that he was appeasing the Vatican head of state and the world's leader of some 1.4 billion Roman Catholics, who are by far the largest denomination among the world's 2.3 billion Christians. Meanwhile, Pontifex got flack for basically coming to Turkey, one of the world's leading Muslim majority powers and an erstwhile NATO ally, and upon coming here, for not declaring a crusade.
There must be war. God wills it!
Instead, the Pope talked about love and brotherhood and sisterhood and unity and harmony and more or less demonstrated those things with his actions. The visit also catalyzed some tangentially related disputes here in Turkey, especially the status of the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate and its long-shuttered theological school, both of them based in Istanbul. I won't go into detail about those matters because I wrote about the geopolitical importance of both the Pope's visit and the issues between the Turkish government and the Greek Orthodox Church in my latest article for the news website I'll monitor. You can find the link to the article in the description box below. So coming to the hilarious and yet horrifying highlight of Pope Leo's visit to Turkey is this man, Mehmet Ali Aca. Now, only some of you would know who he is. He's a Turkish citizen who in 1981, how to say this without getting demonetized on YouTube or other social media networks, tried to fatally harm Pope John Paul II. In those days, there were two narratives about that incident. One, that Soviet intelligence was behind the attempt on the Pope's life because they claim the Polish-born Pope was supporting the anti-communist solidarity movement, opposition movement in his native Poland, while others floated the possibility that maybe rogue elements in Western intel agencies were trying to stage this incident to put pressure on Moscow or worse. Aca was quickly captured and sentenced to life in prison, even though the Pope said he forgave him upon visiting him in his Italian prison in 1983. Italy extradited Aca to Turkey in 2000, and then he served another 10 years in prison for the crimes he committed here in the late 1970s before the incident in Rome in 1981. In 2010, he was released on parole. So coming to the here and now, on the first day of Pope Leo's visit to Turkey on November 27th, with that impish look on his face, Aca showed up in Iznik, where the Council of Nicaea commemoration was going to take place, and said he wanted to seek an audience with the Holy Father. Aca has developed a fascination with the papacy, with the Vatican, with Roman Catholicism since Pope John Paul II visited him in prison in 1983, and like a good Christian, forgave the Turkish man. It must be mentioned that Pope John Paul was also instrumental in Aja's pardon and extradition to Turkey in 2000. So it was that look on Aja's face that made so many people, including me, just go OMG as well as LOLs on social media. Horrified and hilarified at the same time. Amused and bemused. And while I was in the middle of those mixed feelings, the whole thing stopped me in my tracks. That's why I didn't want to release any commentary about the visit. And the story kind of gets funnier because this is not the first time that Aja tried to pull something like this off. For example, in 2014, Aja got to visit Pope John Paul's tomb in Rome and then also asked for an audience with Pope Francis. He wasn't granted an audience back then, and he didn't get one last week either. And thank goodness there were no other incidents during Pope Leo's visit. It went with diplomatic pleasantries and some social media noise. That was it. Thank Allah, I guess. So I got to record this rather lighthearted video. All right, that's it, folks. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please do share the video with your friends. I'll see you in the next one.